Have you ever trusted someone so much that you never imagined they could change your life forever, for better or for worse? This is the story of a girl who believed in hope. A girl who believed in family. A girl who thought she was finally escaping poverty. But sometimes, what looks like a blessing is only the beginning of a storm. In a quiet village far away from the noise of the city, there lived a young girl named Amara. The village was small. Life there was simple, but also very hard. Most people woke up before sunrise, worked all day under the hot sun, and still struggled to have enough food at night. Amara's family was no different. Her mother sold vegetables by the roadside, and her father had passed away when she was very young. From an early age, Amara understood what it meant to survive. She fetched water from the stream every morning. She helped her mother at the market. She took care of the house like someone much older than her age. But even with all this, there was something special about Amara. She had a quiet strength. And deep inside her heart, she believed that one day, her life would change. One afternoon, as the sun burned brightly over the village, a car arrived. It was rare to see cars in that village. Children gathered around, staring in excitement and curiosity. From the car stepped a well-dressed woman. She wore expensive clothes, shining jewelry, and carried herself with confidence. People whispered as she walked past. "That's Amara's auntie from the city," someone said. Amara had heard about her before, but had never really known her. The woman smiled when she saw Amara. "Oh, look at you," she said softly. "You've grown so beautiful." Amara lowered her eyes shyly. That evening, the auntie sat with Amara's mother inside their small house. They spoke for a long time. Her mother forced a smile. "Yes, my child. This is your chance." That night, Amara could not sleep. Her mind was filled with dreams. She imagined tall buildings, bright lights, beautiful clothes, a life where she didn't have to struggle every single day. For the first time in a long time, she felt excited about the future. She trusted her auntie. After all, family would never hurt you. Right? The next morning, Amara packed her few belongings. A small bag. 2 dresses. A pair of worn-out slippers. Her mother hugged her tightly. "Be a good girl," she whispered. "And don't forget where you come from." Tears filled Amara's eyes. "I won't, Mama." As the car drove away, Amara looked back at her village. The dusty roads. The small houses. The only life she had ever known. She didn't know it yet. But that would be the last time she would see her home the same way again. The journey to the city felt like entering another world. The roads became smoother. The houses became bigger. The noise grew louder. Amara pressed her face against the window, amazed by everything she saw. "This is where I will live now," she thought. "This is where my new life begins." Her auntie smiled at her, but there was something in that smile Amara didn't understand. Something hidden. Something she would only realize much later. When they finally arrived, the house was huge. It had multiple rooms, shining floors, and things Amara had never seen before. "This is your home now," her auntie said. Amara felt overwhelmed with joy. "Thank you," she said sincerely. But as she stepped inside, something felt different. There were children running around. The house felt busy, but not warm. And slowly, very slowly, the dream she had imagined began to feel different from reality. That evening, her auntie called her into the kitchen. "From tomorrow," she said, "you will start helping around the house." Amara nodded. "That's okay," she replied. "I can help." But she didn't know what help really meant. Not yet. As night fell, Amara lay on a small mattress in a corner of the house. Not in a bedroom. Not in comfort. Just a small space. Alone. She stared at the ceiling, her excitement slowly fading into confusion. This is just the beginning, she told herself. Things will get better. But deep inside, a quiet voice whispered something else. Sometimes, the life we run towards is not the life waiting for us. And sometimes, the people we trust the most hold the secrets that can break us. What Amara didn't know was that her journey had only just begun. And the city she thought would save her was about to test her in ways she could never imagine. Sometimes, the hardest truth to accept is this. Not every opportunity is freedom. Not every smile is kindness. And not every home is a safe place. Amara was about to learn this, slowly, painfully, and in silence. The first morning in the city felt different. There were no birds singing like in the village. No calm breeze. No familiar faces. Instead, there were loud car horns, distant voices, and the constant noise of a world that never seemed to rest. Before Amara could even stretch her body, she heard her auntie's voice. Amara! Wake up! There's work to do. She quickly sat up, still trying to adjust to her new surroundings. Yes, Auntie, she replied softly. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. And slowly, the truth began to reveal itself. Amara was not sent to school. No one mentioned education again. There were no lessons, no books, no future plans. Only work. Endless work. The children she was asked to help take care of became her full responsibility. She woke them up. She bathed them. She fed them. She cleaned after them. Sometimes they were kind. Sometimes they were rude. But they always treated her like someone beneath them. Not like family. Not even like a guest. One afternoon, Amara gathered the courage to speak. Auntie, she said gently, when will I start school? Her auntie paused for a moment. Then she laughed softly. School, she said. Let's focus on the house first. There's still a lot you need to learn. Amara nodded slowly. But something inside her sank. That night, she lay on her small mattress again. The excitement she once felt was gone. Replaced by confusion. Time passed. Years, even. But as she turned to leave the kitchen, she heard a voice behind her. Amara. Her heart skipped. She froze. Slowly, she turned around. It was him. Her auntie's husband. Yes, sir, she replied quietly. Her voice was calm, but her heart was racing. Come here, he said. His tone was soft, but something about it didn't feel right. Amara hesitated. For a moment, her body refused to move. But fear pushed her forward. She stepped closer. What is it, sir? She asked. He didn't answer immediately. He simply looked at her. The way he looked at her made her feel uncomfortable, exposed. Amara lowered her eyes. In that moment, everything inside her told her something was wrong. Very wrong. What happened next changed her life forever. The night that followed was not something Amara had ever imagined. Not even in her worst fears. The house that once felt unfamiliar now felt like a place she could no longer stay. When it was over, the silence returned. But this time, it was louder than ever. Amara sat alone on the cold floor. Her mind was blank. Her body felt heavy. Her heart shattered. Tears rolled down her face quietly. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just silent pain. The kind of pain that has no words. She didn't scream. She didn't run immediately. She didn't even know what to do. Because sometimes, When something breaks you that deeply, you don't react. You just freeze. Hours passed. Or maybe minutes. She couldn't tell. Time no longer made sense. But one thought slowly began to form in her mind. A clear, painful thought. I can't stay here. For the first time in years, Amara made a decision for herself. She stood up slowly. Her legs felt weak. Her body trembled. But her mind was made up. She walked quietly to her small corner. Picked up her bag. The same small bag she came with years ago. 2 dresses. A few belongings. Nothing more. She looked around the house one last time. The walls that had witnessed her silence. The rooms that never felt like home. The place where her life had slowly been taken away from her. There were no good memories to hold on to. Only pain. Only regret. Only loss. Without making a sound, she walked to the door, opened it slowly, and stepped outside. The night air hit her face. Cold. Free. Uncertain. For the first time in years, there was no one telling her what to do. No one calling her name. No one controlling her life. But there was also nothing else. No plan. No destination. No safety. Just darkness. And the unknown. Amara began to walk. Step by step. Away from everything she had known. Away from everything that had broken her. Tears filled her eyes as she moved forward. Not knowing where she was going. Not knowing what would happen next. But one thing was clear. She would never go back. Because sometimes, the only way to survive is to leave everything behind. What Amara didn't know was that the world outside was even harsher. Even colder. Even more dangerous. And the next path she would walk would test her in ways she was not prepared for. Because running away was only the beginning. What waited ahead would either destroy her completely or change her life forever. Freedom. It sounds beautiful. It feels like peace. It feels like escape. But sometimes, freedom without direction can feel more dangerous than the place you ran from. And that was exactly where Amara found herself. Her mind was full of fear, but also something else. Relief. She had escaped. But now, what next? Hours passed. Her legs began to ache. Her eyes felt heavy. Still, she kept walking. Because stopping felt even more frightening. As the night grew deeper, the streets became quieter. Shops closed. Lights went off. The world slowly went to sleep. But Amara remained awake. Lost. Alone. Finally, she found a small corner near a closed shop. The ground was cold, but she was too tired to care. She sat down, pulled her bag close, and rested her head against the wall. For the first time since she left the house, she allowed herself to cry. Not loudly. Not with noise. Just quiet tears. Tears for everything she had lost. Her childhood. Her dreams. Her sense of safety. She didn't know when she fell asleep. But when she woke up, the sun was already rising. Morning in the city was loud. Cars moved quickly. People rushed past each other. No one noticed the girl sitting quietly in the corner. No one stopped to ask if she was okay. Amara watched people as they walked by. Everyone seemed busy. Everyone seemed to have a purpose. Everyone, except her. Her stomach growled. She realized she hadn't eaten. Not the night before. Not that morning. She stood up slowly and looked around. Maybe she could find something. Anything. She walked past small shops, food stands, and crowded streets. The smell of food filled the air. It made her feel even more hungry. She gathered courage and approached a woman selling bread. "Please," Amara said softly. "Can you give me something to eat?" The woman looked at her briefly, then turned away. "I'm not running a charity," she replied. Amara stepped back. Her face burned with embarrassment. But hunger pushed her forward again. She tried again. This time, with a man. But he ignored her completely. After several attempts, Amara stopped. Not because she wasn't hungry, but because rejection hurts. And too much rejection breaks something inside you. She walked aimlessly through the streets. Her steps slower now. Her hope fading. By afternoon, the sun was hot. Her head felt dizzy. Her body weak. She sat under a tree near a busy road. Her eyes slowly closing. Her strength almost gone. That was when someone approached her. A woman. Well-dressed. Confident. With a calm but sharp look in her eyes. "Are you okay?" the woman asked. Her voice sounded kind. Different. Amara looked up weakly. "I'm fine," she whispered. But her voice betrayed her. The woman sat beside her. "You don't look fine," she said gently. "When did you last eat?" Amara hesitated. Her mind filled with questions. Should I go? Can I trust her? What if this is another mistake? But then her stomach growled again. Loudly. The woman smiled slightly. "You need help," she said. "And I'm offering it." After a long pause, Amara nodded. She stood up slowly and followed the woman, not knowing that this decision would lead her into another chapter of her life, one she never imagined. They walked through busy streets until they reached a quiet area. A place filled with buildings that looked different. Older. Hidden. The woman led her inside one of them. Inside, there were other girls. Some talking. Some sitting quietly. Some laughing. But something about the atmosphere felt strange. Amara looked around. Confused. The woman handed her food. "Eat," she said. Amara didn't ask questions. She just ate. Quickly. Desperately. For the first time in 2 days. She felt a little strength return to her body. "Thank you," she said softly. The woman nodded. "What's your name?" "Amara," she replied. The woman smiled. "Well, Amara, you're safe here." Safe. That word sounded comforting. But something about the way she said it didn't feel completely true. "Rest for now," the woman added. "We'll talk later." Amara nodded. Too tired to think. Too tired to question. She didn't know it yet. But she had just stepped into another world. A world that looked like help, but carried its own hidden dangers. Because sometimes, when life pushes you to the edge, you don't fall into safety. You fall into survival. And survival doesn't always come clean. What waited for Amara in that place would shape her future in ways she could never imagine. Because the city was not done testing her yet. The woman walked closer. "My name is Madame Rose," she said. "You can trust me. I help girls like you." Amara felt a small sense of relief. Maybe, just maybe, this was her second chance. "I don't have anywhere else to go," Amara said softly. Madame Rose nodded slowly. "I know," she replied. That's why you're here. There was something in her tone. Something calm, but firm. Something that made Amara listen carefully. You see, Amara, Madame Rose continued, nothing in life is free. Amara's heart skipped slightly. She didn't understand fully. But she felt something shift. I gave you food, Madame Rose said. I gave you a place to sleep. She paused. And now, you will have to work. Amara's stomach tightened. Work, she asked quietly. Madame Rose smiled slightly. Yes. Just like everyone else here. Amara looked around again. At the girls. At the building. At the strange atmosphere she couldn't fully understand before. And suddenly, it started to make sense. Her chest felt tight. No. She stuttered. I can clean. I can cook. I can take care of children. Madame Rose raised her hand gently. That's not the kind of work we do here. Silence. Heavy. Unavoidable. Amara felt her heart beating faster. Her hands began to shake. No. I can't, she whispered. Madame Rose's expression changed. Not angry. Not harsh. Just serious. You don't have a choice, she said calmly. Out there, you had nothing. No food. No shelter. No safety. She leaned closer. Here, you have all those things. Amara stepped back slightly. Her mind racing. Her body frozen. I don't want this, she said, her voice breaking. Madame Rose sighed. None of them did at first, she replied. She gestured toward the other girls. Look at them. They survived. And so will you. That word again. Survive. Amara felt trapped. Just like before. Different place. Different people. Same feeling. Tears filled her eyes. Please, she whispered. But this time, there was no one to save her. The days that followed were not easy. They were confusing, painful, and heavy with emotion she didn't know how to handle. At first, Amara resisted. She cried. She begged. She refused. But slowly, reality became stronger than resistance. She needed food. She needed shelter. She needed to survive. And so, little by little, her spirit began to break. Amara had stepped out briefly, sent on an errand. Nothing unusual. Just another task in a life full of them. As she walked down a narrow street, she noticed something strange. There was a small crowd gathered near a drainage area by the roadside. People stood at a distance. Some whispering. Some watching. But no one stepping forward. Amara slowed down. Curiosity pulled her closer. Excuse me, what happened? She asked a woman standing nearby. The woman shrugged. They say some boys attacked someone and ran away, she replied. Left him there. Amara's heart tightened. She looked toward the drainage. And that was when she saw him. A young man. Lying there. Barely moving. Her breath caught in her throat. For a moment, she froze. Just like she had frozen before in her life. People continued to watch. No one moved. No one helped. He's probably drunk, someone said. Or it's not our problem, another added. Amara looked at their faces. Calm. Unbothered. As if this was normal. But something inside her refused to accept that. She didn't think. She didn't plan. She just moved. Pushing past the small crowd, she stepped closer to the drainage. The smell was unpleasant. The sight, even worse. The young man was injured. His clothes were dirty. His face bruised. His breathing weak. "Can you hear me?" Amara asked softly. There was no response. She looked around. "Someone help me," she called out. But no one moved. Fear tried to hold her back. But something stronger pushed her forward. Carefully, she climbed down slightly and tried to lift him. It wasn't easy. He was heavy. And she was already tired. But she didn't stop. "Please, help me," she said again, her voice breaking. Finally, one man stepped forward. Reluctantly. "Fine," he said. "Let's move him." Together, they managed to pull the young man out. Amara quickly checked his breathing. Still there. Weak, but there. "We need to take him somewhere," she said urgently. The man shook his head. "I'm not getting involved," he replied and walked away. Amara stared after him. Shocked. But not surprised. This was the city. People watched. People talked. But few people acted. She looked back at the young man. Alone again. Her mind raced. What do I do? Then she made a decision. With all the strength she had left, she supported him. Slowly. Step by step. It was not easy. Her body struggled. Her arms ached. But she didn't stop. After what felt like forever, she finally found help. A small clinic nearby. The nurses rushed to assist when they saw his condition. They placed him on a bed and began treatment immediately. Amara stood by the door, breathing heavily. Her clothes dirty. Her body exhausted. But her heart? Her heart felt something different. Not fear. Not pain. Purpose. For the first time in a long time. She had done something not just to survive, but to help someone else. Hours passed. She remained there. Quiet. Watching. Finally, one of the nurses approached her. "He's stable now," she said. "You brought him just in time." Amara nodded slowly. Relief washing over her? "Do you know him?" the nurse asked. Amara shook her head. "No." Just then, the young man moved slightly. His eyes slowly opened. Confused. Weak. But alive. His gaze moved around the room. Until it landed on her. For a moment. They simply looked at each other. Something unspoken passed between them. "Why you?" he whispered faintly. Amara stepped closer. "You're safe now," she said gently. He tried to speak again. But his strength faded. Still. His eyes remained on her. As if trying to understand. As if trying to remember. Amara didn't know it yet. But that moment, that simple act of kindness, would change her life in ways she never imagined. On her. Amara. He frowned slightly, trying to remember. His voice came out weak. You were there." Amara stood up and moved closer. "Yes," she said gently. "You were hurt. I brought you here." He stared at her. As if trying to understand. As if trying to connect the pieces. "Why?" he asked quietly. That question caught her off guard. Why? She didn't have a clear answer. She could have walked away. Like everyone else. But instead, she simply said, "Because you needed help." The young man blinked slowly. Her answer seemed to surprise him. In a world where people often looked away, Someone had chosen to stop. To help. And that someone was her. Later that day, something unexpected happened. The clinic doors opened suddenly. Several people rushed in. Well-dressed. Serious. Concerned. They spoke quickly to the nurses. Their voices filled with urgency. "Where is he?" one of them asked. Amara stepped back slightly, unsure of what was happening. The nurse pointed toward the room. "His stable," she said. The group moved quickly toward the young man. Among them was a man in his late 50s. Dressed in an expensive suit. His face filled with worry. "Son," he called out as he reached the bedside. "Son?" Amara's eyes widened slightly. The man rushed to him, holding his hand, speaking to him with deep concern. "Are you okay? What happened?" The young man looked weak but aware. "I was attacked," he said slowly. "They took everything." The room filled with tension. Amara stood quietly in the corner, watching, listening. Then the young man's eyes moved again. Toward her. She helped me," he said softly. Everyone turned. For the first time, all eyes were on Amara. She felt uncomfortable. Out of place. The older man stepped forward. "You brought him here?" he asked. Amara nodded slowly. "Yes." There was a brief silence. Then the man spoke again. "Thank you," he said. His voice sincere. Amara wasn't used to hearing that word. Not like this. Not with respect. She nodded slightly. "What is your name?" he asked. "Amara," she replied. The man nodded thoughtfully. "My name is Mr. Lawson," he said. "And that is my son, Daniel." Daniel. The name stayed in her mind. Mr. Lawson looked at her carefully. Not judging. Not dismissing. Just observing. "You saved his life," he said. Amara shook her head slightly. "I just helped," she replied. But deep inside, something shifted. For the first time in years, someone saw her? Not as a servant. Not as someone to use. But as someone who mattered. As the day went on, Amara remained at the clinic. Quietly. Watching from a distance. Daniel's condition improved slowly. He spoke more. Asked questions. Rested. But every now and then, his eyes searched for her. And when they met hers, there was something there. Gratitude. Curiosity. Connection. Later that evening, Mr. Lawson approached her again. "You shouldn't be out there alone," he said. "The city is not safe." Amara lowered her eyes. "I'm used to it," she replied. But her voice carried a quiet truth. She wasn't safe. She had never been. Mr. Lawson seemed to sense that. "Do you have somewhere to go?" he asked. Amara hesitated. For a moment, she thought about lying. But something stopped her. "No," she said softly. There it was. The truth. Mr. Lawson nodded slowly. "I see," he said. There was a pause. A long one. As if he was thinking. Deciding something. Then he spoke. "We will talk about that," he said calmly. Amara didn't understand what he meant. But something in his tone felt different. Not like Madame Rose. Not like her auntie. Different. That night, as Amara sat quietly outside the clinic, she felt something she hadn't felt in a very long time. Hope. Small. Fragile. But real. She didn't know what would happen next. She didn't know what this connection meant. But deep inside, she felt it. Her life was about to change again. Because sometimes, when you choose to do good, even when life has been unfair to you, something unexpected begins to happen. And for Amara, that unexpected change had just begun. Sometimes, life gives you a second chance when you least expect it. Not when you ask for it. Not when you feel ready. But when you have already lost hope. For Amara, that moment had arrived. Quietly. Unexpectedly. And she didn't even realize how big it was. The night outside the clinic was calm. When he saw her, his face softened. "You came back," he said. Amara gave a small nod. "I wanted to make sure you were okay," she replied. Daniel smiled faintly. "Because of you, I am," he said. There was a short silence. But it didn't feel uncomfortable. It felt calm. Then Daniel spoke again. "I don't remember everything," he said. "But I remember one thing clearly." Amara looked at him. "You didn't walk away," he continued. Those words stayed in the air. Because in a world where many people walked away, she didn't. Amara looked down. "I couldn't," she said softly. Daniel watched her carefully. There was something in her voice. Something deeper than just kindness. Something that carried pain. "Your life hasn't been easy, has it?" he asked gently. Amara froze for a moment. That question. No one had ever asked her that before. She didn't answer immediately. But her silence said enough. Daniel didn't push. "I'm glad you found me," he said instead. Amara looked up slightly. Confused. "Most people would say I was lucky you found me," he continued. "But I think I was lucky to meet you." Those words touched something deep inside her. Something she thought was gone. Worth. Before she could respond, Mr. Lawson entered the room. "Daniel needs to rest," he said calmly. Then he turned to Amara. "Come with me," he added. Amara followed him outside again. They walked in silence for a moment. Then Mr. Lawson stopped. "Amara," he said, turning to face her. "I want to help you." Her heart tightened. Help. That word had brought her pain before. She looked at him carefully. "I don't need much," she said slowly. Mr. Lawson shook his head gently. "That's not what I mean," he replied. He paused, as if choosing his words carefully. "I want to give you a chance," he said. "A real one." Amara felt her breath catch. "What kind of chance?" she asked quietly. Mr. Lawson looked at her with calm seriousness. "A chance to start again," he said. Silence. The words felt heavy. Powerful. Too good to believe. Amara's mind filled with doubt. "Why?" she asked. It was a simple question. But it carried everything she had been through. Why would anyone help her? Mr. Lawson didn't answer immediately. Then he said, "Because you did something rare." Amara waited. "You helped someone when you had nothing to gain," he continued. "In this world, that matters." Her eyes slowly filled with emotion. No one had ever seen her like this before. Not as someone weak. Not as someone to use. But as someone who did something good. "I can't promise everything will be easy," Mr. Lawson added. "But I can promise you this." He looked directly into her eyes. "You don't have to live like this anymore." That moment changed something inside Amara. A door opened. Not fully. Not completely. But just enough for light to enter. She didn't know what the future held. She didn't know if she could trust it. But for the first time in years, she felt something she had almost forgotten. Possibility. Because sometimes, one act of kindness can lead to another. And sometimes, the person you save becomes the reason you are saved. But Amara's journey was not over. Because not everyone would accept her past. Not everyone would welcome her. And the path ahead would come with its own challenges. Especially when it came to Daniel's world. A world very different from hers. A world that would test everything. Including love. Sometimes, the hardest battles are not the ones we fight alone. They are the ones we fight when we finally step into a better place. But realize we don't fully belong there. For Amara, the door to a new life had opened. But walking through it would not be easy. After leaving the clinic, everything began to change quickly. Mr. Lawson kept his word. He arranged for Amara to stay in a safe place. Not the streets. Not the house she ran from. Not the place Madame Rose controlled. Somewhere new. Somewhere clean. Somewhere quiet. It was a small apartment. Simple, but comfortable. For the first time in years, Amara had a bed. Her own space. A place where she could sleep without fear. The first night there, she didn't sleep immediately. She lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling. Her mind filled with thoughts. "This is real," she whispered softly. But deep inside, a question remained. How long will it last? Because life had taught her something important. Good moments don't always stay. The next few days were different. Very different. Mr. Lawson arranged for her to visit a rehabilitation center. A place where people were helped to rebuild their lives. To heal. To learn. To start again. At first, Amara was unsure. "Why do I need this?" she asked quietly. Mr. Lawson looked at her gently. "Because what you've been through matters," he said. "And healing matters too." Healing. It was a word she had never really understood before. But now, she was about to. The rehabilitation center was calm. Peaceful. Different from everything she had known. There were other people there. Each carrying their own story. Their own pain. Their own past. At first, Amara stayed quiet. Observing. Listening. She wasn't used to talking about her feelings. She wasn't used to being asked how she felt. But slowly, things began to change. The counselors were kind. Patient. Understanding. They didn't force her to speak. They didn't judge her silence. And over time, that silence began to break. One day, during a session, a counselor asked her a simple question. "What do you want for your future?" Amara froze. Future? No one had asked her that in years. She had been surviving. Not planning. Tears filled her eyes. "I don't know," she whispered. And for the first time, she allowed herself to feel everything she had been holding inside. The pain. The fear. The memories. It wasn't easy. But it was the beginning. Meanwhile, Daniel had fully recovered. He returned home. Back to his life. Back to his world. But something had changed in him too. He couldn't stop thinking about Amara. Her courage. Her kindness. Her quiet strength. She wasn't like anyone he had met before. And slowly, what started as gratitude began to grow into something deeper. He visited her at the rehabilitation center. At first, just to check on her. "How are you?" he would ask. I'm okay, she would reply. But each visit felt different. Warmer. Closer. They talked more. Shared small moments. Laughed occasionally. And without realizing it, a connection began to form. But not everyone was happy about it. One evening, at the Lawson family home, Daniel's parents sat together in the living room. His mother looked concerned. "This girl," she said slowly. "Do you really know who she is?" Daniel remained calm. "I know enough," he replied. His father sighed. "Daniel, we are not ungrateful," he said. "She helped you. We respect that." He paused. "But bringing her into your life like this is different." The room grew quiet. "She has a past," his mother added. "And people will talk." Daniel's expression hardened slightly. "Everyone has a past," he said. But deep inside, he knew this wouldn't be easy. Back at the center, Amara was slowly changing. She smiled more, spoke more, thought more about her future. But she also felt something else. Distance. She could feel it in the way people looked at her sometimes. In the way conversations changed. In the way certain truths remained unspoken. She knew her past. She couldn't hide it. And she wondered, if they really knew everything, would they still accept me? One evening, Daniel visited again. They sat outside quietly, watching the sunset. "Amara," he said softly. She looked at him. "I want to be honest with you," he continued. Her heart tightened. "My parents, they're not sure about us," he said. Silence. Amara looked away. She wasn't surprised. "I understand," she said quietly. Daniel shook his head. "No, you don't," he replied. "I don't care what they think." Amara turned back to him. "But I do," she said. Her voice was calm, but firm. "I know where I come from," she continued. "And I know what I've been through." She paused. "I don't want to be the reason your life becomes difficult." Daniel looked at her. For a moment, he didn't speak. Then he said, "You are not the problem." But Amara wasn't sure. Because sometimes, even when someone sees your worth, the world still sees your past. And that can be the hardest thing to overcome. The journey ahead was not just about healing. Not just about survival. It was about acceptance. And proving that a person's past does not define their future. But would the world see it that way? Or would Amara have to fight one more battle to finally belong? Sometimes the past does not stay behind you. It follows you. It whispers to people. It shapes how they see you. And sometimes it tries to decide your future. For Amara, this was the battle she now had to face. Not hunger. Not fear. Not survival. But judgment. The days at the rehabilitation center continued. On the outside, everything seemed calm. Amara attended her sessions. She spoke more openly. She even began learning small skills, reading better, writing, and basic work training. To anyone watching, she looked like someone rebuilding her life. And in many ways, she was. But inside, there was still a quiet struggle. Because no matter how much she tried to move forward, her past stood behind her like a shadow. And now, that shadow had followed her into Daniel's world. Daniel continued to visit her. More often than before. At first, it was simple. Short conversations. Quiet support. But now, there was something deeper. Something neither of them said out loud. But both of them felt. One afternoon, they sat together under a tree in the center. The air was calm. The world around them peaceful. "Amara," Daniel said gently. She looked at him. "I don't want to pretend anymore," he continued. Her heart began to beat faster. "I care about you," he said. Silence. The words hung in the air. Simple. Clear. Powerful. Amara looked down. Her hands tightening slightly. "I don't just see you as someone I helped," he added. "I see you as someone important to me." Tears slowly filled her eyes. Not because she was surprised, but because she was afraid. "Daniel," she whispered. He waited. "You don't understand," she said softly. "Then help me understand," he replied. Amara took a deep breath. "My life is not simple," she said. "My past, it's not something people accept easily." Daniel's expression didn't change. "I know you've been through a lot," he said. She shook her head. "No, you don't know everything," she replied. And for the first time, Amara told him the truth. Not all at once. Not every detail. But enough. She spoke about the village. Her auntie. The life she was promised. And the life she was given instead. Her voice trembled at times. Paused at others. But she didn't stop. Because she was tired of hiding. When she finished, there was silence. Long. Heavy. Amara didn't look at him. She couldn't. She waited. For judgment. For distance. For everything she had learned to expect. But it didn't come. Instead, Daniel spoke softly. "I'm sorry you went through that," he said. Amara looked up slowly. There was no disgust in his eyes. No pity. Just understanding. "You didn't deserve any of it," he continued. Her chest tightened. No one had ever said that to her before. "But that doesn't change how I see you," he added. Amara shook her head slightly. "It should," she said. Daniel leaned forward. "It doesn't," he replied firmly. For a moment, hope tried to rise inside her. But fear quickly followed. "Your parents won't see it that way," she said quietly. And she was right. That evening, Daniel returned home. His parents were waiting. "We need to talk," his father said. Daniel nodded. He already knew what it was about. "This has gone far enough," his mother added. Daniel remained calm. "I care about her," he said simply. His father sighed. "Daniel, listen to yourself," he said. "You are building your future. Your name. Your life." He paused. "And you want to tie it to someone with that kind of past." The words were sharp. Clear. Daniel's expression hardened. "She is not her past," he replied. But his mother shook her head. "That's not how the world works," she said. Silence filled the room. Because deep down, they were not completely wrong. The world often judged before understanding. And Amara knew that. Back at the center? She sat alone that night. Thinking. She remembered Daniel's words. His kindness. His acceptance. But she also remembered reality. What if this ruins his life, she thought. Tears rolled down her face quietly. "For once, someone sees me," she whispered. "But what if loving me costs him everything?" That thought stayed with her. Because sometimes, love is not the problem. The world is. And Amara was now standing at a crossroads. A chance for happiness. Or a choice to step away. To protect someone she cared about. But life had not brought her this far. Just to take everything away again. Because sometimes, the greatest fight is not for survival. It is for acceptance. And Amara's story was not over yet. Because the next decision she would make would change everything. For her. For Daniel. And for the people who doubted them. Sometimes, the final battle in life is not against people. It is not against circumstances. It is against the voice inside you that says, you are not enough. You don't belong. You will never be accepted. For Amara, this was the last battle she had to win. The night after her conversation with Daniel, Amara did not sleep. She sat by the window in her room at the rehabilitation center, watching the darkness slowly fade into morning. Her mind was full. Not of fear like before, but of decisions. For the first time in her life, she wasn't running from something. She was standing still, thinking about what she truly wanted. Do I deserve happiness? She whispered to herself. It was a simple question. But it carried years of pain. Years of being used. Ignored. Broken. And for the first time, she answered it. Yes. I do. That answer changed something inside her. Later that morning, she asked to speak with her counselor. I don't want to hide anymore, Amara said. I don't want to feel ashamed of my life. The counselor smiled gently. That's where real healing begins, she said. And from that moment, Amara stopped seeing herself as a victim. She began to see herself as a survivor. Days passed, and something new began to grow inside her. Confidence. She started participating more. Learning faster. She asked to meet Daniel. When he arrived, she didn't hesitate. I've been thinking, she said. Daniel listened carefully. I don't want to be someone you have to defend, she continued. I don't want to be a problem in your life. Daniel shook his head immediately. You're not a problem. But Amara raised her hand gently. Let me finish, she said. There was strength in her voice now. I want to build my own life, she continued. I want to stand on my own. Not hide behind anyone. Daniel looked at her. He could see the difference. She wasn't speaking from fear anymore. She was speaking from growth. I care about you, she said softly. But I also care about who I'm becoming. There was silence. But it wasn't painful. It was understanding. Daniel smiled slightly. That's one of the reasons I care about you, he said. Amara smiled back. Not with doubt. Not with fear. But with peace. Weeks later, something unexpected happened. Mr. Lawson visited the rehabilitation center. He asked to speak with Amara. When they sat down, there was a calm silence between them. I've been watching, he said. Amara looked at him, unsure. Not closely, he added with a small smile. But enough. He paused. You've changed, he said. Amara nodded slightly. I'm trying, she replied. Mr. Lawson leaned forward. No, he said. You're not trying. He looked directly at her. You're becoming. Those words stayed with her. Then he continued. I was wrong, he said. Amara blinked slightly. At first, I saw your situation, he explained. But now, I see your strength. He paused. And I understand why my son respects you. Amara felt something warm rise in her chest. Acceptance. Real acceptance. I can't change your past, Mr. Lawson continued. But I can choose how I see you now. He smiled gently. And I choose to see you for who you are today. Tears filled Amara's eyes. Not from pain, but from something she had never fully experienced before. Being seen. Being accepted. Not in pieces. Not with conditions. But fully. Slowly, things began to change. Daniel's parents softened. Not immediately. Not completely. But gradually. They saw Amara's growth. Her effort. Her strength. And over time, their resistance turned into understanding. Then into acceptance. Months later, Amara stood outside a small building. Her building. A place she had earned. A life she had built. She was no longer the girl who arrived in the city with dreams. Nor the girl who got lost trying to survive. She was something more. Someone who had faced darkness. And still chose light. Daniel stood beside her. Not as someone saving her, but as someone walking with her. Equal. Free. At peace. Amara looked up at the sky. The same sky she once looked at from the village. The same sky she once cried under in the city. But now, it felt different. Because she was different. And finally, her past no longer controlled her. It shaped her. It strengthened her. But it did not define her. Because in the end, the most powerful thing you can do is not just survive your story. It is to rise above it. And write a new one. Kindly like and subscribe to this channel.